A common issue that I've run into in my life that I'm sure a lot of people deal with is when you realize when you regret something or you wish that you knew something at a point in the past that you know now, you tend to feel resentment toward yourself or you feel angry. You know, maybe you learn things or you become better at something and you think if I knew back then what I know now, things would be so different. Or if I another common I think a more common thing is if I had started back then, whatever back then is, certain point in time in the past, which I'm sure is different for everybody, but it's something where you either learn something new over time or you start doing something and you have this habit or this way of thinking where you look back at the past and you think and you realize once you start doing something, once you become good at it, you realize how much time was wasted not doing that thing. Even especially if it's something that you always knew you wanted to do, but weren't you didn't start because of fear, or you didn't seek knowledge because you had convinced yourself it wasn't something you could do, or whatever it is, any number of reasons. But I found it to be particularly true if you waited a long time to start doing something that you always wanted to do, and then when you started, you realize, oh, this is not that bad. Whatever the fear was a lot bigger in your mind than it is in reality, or whatever it was that was stopping you. It wasn't a legitimate reason for you to not have started doing the thing that you wanted to do. But one of the issues becomes that when you do start doing it, you start to feel this immense regret and pain looking at the past and thinking, well, I could have done so much more, or I'd be so much further ahead. And it's something that I deal with a lot, especially when it comes to finances and general financial net worth and financial well being, when it comes to my spending habits, my saving habits, my investing, because I wish that I had started sooner. And the crazy thing is that even after I knew what to do, I still didn't start. And so now I sit here and have this immense regret and pain, especially when things aren't great. That's when you feel it even more. And I think to myself a lot, well, I wish I had started sooner. Why didn't I start sooner? Why is it that I acted against my self-interest even when I knew better? And the thing is that you can think about that for a million different reasons, but what I realized was whatever point in time I wish I had started is gone now, and I can sit here forever and waste more time wishing that I had started sooner. But the fact of the matter is, if if I hadn't st- if I had the fact of the matter is, like, that time is gone and I didn't start when I did. If you've and the fact that I started some things at all is good, and I've been consistent with them. There's other things that I still need to start and do consistently. Um, but the fact that I've done anything and not kept holding myself back is a good thing, and that should be a lesson toward anything else that I haven't started that I need to do. Is that just start now. Just start now. Just start doing it um, on a regular basis. Start doing it on a day. Just get consistent with it, because once you start, it becomes easier to keep going. And every day that you don't start is another day that you're tacking on in this. You're tallying up in the regret column towards whatever else it is that you need to do. And I've realized that when I look back on these things, or when I have these kinds of regrets, and I feel frustrated, and I think I wish I had started sooner. I wish I had done XYZ back then. If it's something that I haven't started now and I'm feeling that regret about, um, and so much so that that regret becomes something that keeps me from starting now, I think, well, there's so much sunk cost. But anyway, if there's something that I still have not started and I keep getting angry and resentful and wishing I'd started some point in the past, I realize that the only thing I'm really doing is one of the main things I'm doing is I'm avoiding the work. The reason I wish I'd started back then is because I'm just trying to find a way out of the work, right? Like, That's all it really is. Because if I know what I have to do now and I'm still not doing it, that's just me avoiding the work. That's me avoiding the hard part, the beginning, whatever it is. And by wishing that I'd started in the past, it isn't so much that if I had known I would have started. The fact of the matter is, some things I did know and I still didn't start. And so ultimately, what I realize is, even sitting here now wishing I had done something sooner when things were easier or I had more time or more money or whatever, the fact of the matter is all I'm really doing is still just finding a way to avoid the work. That's pretty much it. That's literally it. Because if I'm not able to start something now, if I'm not able to do something now, it's because I'm just avoiding the work. I'm trying to avoid that initial amount of work that I don't want to do. And that's really all that's going on, because it's not so much about I would have been so much further ahead. It's just the fact that whatever the beginning work is, or whatever starting this thing is, or whatever it is that I need to do, it's not that I'm avoiding. It's not that I wish I would have started sooner, because I would have made that much more progress. I'm wishing I'd started sooner so I'd gotten the hard part out of the way. And that's why I still haven't started now. If there's something that you've always wanted to do, this might not be making a lot of sense, I'm just free flowing, but if there's something that you've always wanted to do, I've learned that if you haven't started doing it in your current state, it doesn't mean that you don't want it. A lot of people say that nowadays. They're like, well, if you really wanted to, you'd figure it out. No, there's a lot of other things that come into play. And everyone's different. There are some things that people really want to do that they really care about, and they know that if they never do it, they'll feel immense regret, and it'll keep building and building and building. And at one point it becomes easier to just not want the dream, but it doesn't mean that they never wanted it. And I think people who say that, they take a very reductionist and oversimplified approach that, well, if you really wanted to do it, you would have figured it out by now. No, some people have, they have a lot of fear surrounding the thing that they want to do. So don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. But if you have something that you really wanted to do and you haven't been able to get to it, and you still find yourself not being able to do it and wishing that you had started in the past, you should ask yourself if you're just avoiding the work. Because essentially you're wishing that your past self had done the work that you're avoiding right now. And if your past self had done that, then yeah, you'd be in a different position. But the fact of the matter is that whatever version of you existed before is not that much different than the version of you that exists now, as far as whatever this goal is or whatever this thing is, because neither of you started working toward it. Neither of you even took the first step. And because we can't time travel to the past and influence our past selves, or, take their place and redo everything how we want it, the only power you really have is in this moment. Like, the only creative power you have is right now. And so what I've found is, as hard as it is, you kind of have to hit a big reset and just tell yourself, I'm not going to think about the past anymore. I'm not going to think about the regrets or feel like I should have done this sooner. You have to find a way to just start. And there are some things that maybe you don't actually want to do. I think you do have to narrow things down, because you could maybe do one or two things and be really good at them. When we're younger, I think everybody wants 5 or 6 things that they want to do, or sometimes 10 things. And as you get older, you realize that you do have to sacrifice a couple of different things. You have to sacrifice some things that you kind of want, or that would be cool, for like the 1 or 2 things that would be great. And you have to focus on that. So I think that's probably one of the most important things that I've learned, is that if you keep finding yourself putting things off, you find out if you do actually want it. There definitely is something that you want that you've been putting off. And regardless of all the sunk costs and the time spent not doing the thing and wishing you had started it sooner, the best thing you can do is start it right now. And you don't have to, it feels like your whole future collapses out in front of you, because you think like, oh, I have to make it to some crazy milestone or whatever. And you don't. You just have to put 5 or 10 minutes in the first night. And put some time into the actual thing, not planning the thing. Just do whatever it is that would make it so that you've done it. You've made some progress toward it, whatever that is. Um, but you have to find a way to kind of reset everything and really focus hard on getting started on whatever it is that you've been putting off. Because if the dream has always come back over and over again, then I promise it's probably going to keep coming back for the rest of your life. And at the end of your life, you can look back and think, do you want that regret? Because this is going to compound. It's going to compound. It's going to feel so much worse than it does now. And do you want that regret to be that much bigger in the future? Or do you want to think that, hey, there was a day where I had put this thing off for a long time, but then I actually sat down and did it. And I think that, everybody would prefer the latter. And the thing is that it's entirely in your control. You just have to, really break whatever it is down to such a small level that it becomes easy to take that first step. I think that's one of the easier ways to do it. But the most important thing is to take that first step. Because otherwise, you don't want to look back 5 years from now and think back to this moment and wish that, hey, I wish my younger self had started, or I wish I would have started this 5 years ago. Like, maybe right now you wish you would have started 5 years ago. Okay? You can start now. And in a year, you can have a year of progress. In 5 years, you could be amazing at that thing. You could become one of the best at it, or whatever it is, or find success in it. But what you definitely don't want is to have this understanding and then 5 years from now look back to this moment and think, why didn't I start then? So if there's something that you've been putting off, if there's something that you feel that is in the back of your head, and that you can't leave this world without having done it or attempted it properly, then forget all the time that's gone and find a way to make it happen. Find a way to incorporate it into your daily life and make progress on it and just become better at it. Because if it is something that you truly want to do and something that you care about on that deep of a level, and it keeps coming back around year after year or every couple of years or whatever it is, then I think it's going to keep doing that for as long as you're here. And you don't want it to become something that gnaws away at you and makes you old, and makes you not old, but makes you bitter and resentful because you never did it. So just try taking the first step. Figure out if it's something that you really want. Figure out what it is you actually want for yourself. No family influence or judgment or friends or whatever. And then make time for that thing and try to just start doing it every day, a little bit at a time. Imagine that whatever point in time in the past, if you're thinking, I wish I'd started 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or you have a specific moment in mind where you think back to and you think, man, I wish I'd started this back then. Imagine that right now, instead of you going back to that moment, there's a future version of you looking back in the current moment that you're in, thinking, I really wish I'd started in this moment. And that way you can really change the trajectory of your whole life. And you're going to have to sacrifice something, but that's why it's so important to find like one or two things that are really important and abandon everything else, because you're not going to have more than 24 hours in a day. And if you look at your day and you actually make time for this thing, whatever it is, then something else that you do on a daily basis has to go out the window because you don't have time for both. So anyway, figure out what it is that you really want, that you've been putting off and that keeps coming back around. Narrow that want down to one or two things. Hit a hard reset on your life to make room for whatever it is that you decide to do, and imagine that your future self is looking back on this moment, wishing that this is when you had started, and then make some sacrifices and start. That's really all there is to it. And I think that a good thing to do is to have written reminders for yourself that you read every day. Because a lot of times we don't need any more advice. We just need to be reminded. I think Hermosi said that or had quoted it from someone else. So write that down. Write it down for yourself every day and read it to yourself. A year from now, do I want to be in the same position, or do I want to have a year of progress towards X, whatever X is? Good luck.